Talking about putting a manifestly irresponsible man on national television.
We learned today that Oscar-winning actor Robert Duvall has died at the age of 95. His iconic roles in The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, and so many other movies. And tonight, the role he once said was his favorite. And Al Pacino and Robert De Niro now remembering him tonight.
There is a particular kind of silence that falls over a room when someone irreplaceable leaves it. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of weight. The kind that presses down on your chest and makes even breathing feel like a small act of courage. That was the silence that settled over a centuries-old stone farmhouse in the rolling hills of Fauquier County, Virginia, on the evening of February 15, 2026. Robert Duvall, one of the most decorated and genuinely respected actors in the history of American cinema, had taken his last breath. He was 95 years old, and the world, though it had known for decades that this day would come, was not ready for it. The announcement came not from a studio publicist or a Hollywood press agent. It came from his wife, Luciana Pedroza Duvall, who posted a simple, heartbreaking statement on social media. She wrote that they had said goodbye to her beloved husband, a cherished friend, and one of the greatest actors of their time. She described how he had passed away peacefully at home, surrounded by love and comfort. To the world, she said, he was an Academy Award-winning actor, a director, a storyteller. To her, she wrote, he was simply everything. There was no red carpet grief. No Hollywood machinery managing the narrative. Just a wife, speaking plainly about losing the person she loved most. What followed, however, was something that caught even the most seasoned entertainment reporters off guard. The family asked that the public honor Robert Duvall not with a formal ceremony or a grand Hollywood memorial, but by watching a great film, sharing a story with people they love, or taking a quiet drive through open countryside. No black tie farewell. No tribute concert at the Dolby Theatre. Just the ordinary, beautiful things that Duvall had spent nearly a century believing were the whole point of being alive in the first place. That request told you more about the man than any biography ever could. Robert Selden Duvall was born on January 5, 1931, in San Diego, California, the second of three sons born to Rear Admiral William Howard Duvall and Mildred Virginia Hart. His father was a decorated United States Navy officer, stern and disciplined in the way that men of that era and rank tended to be. His mother was quieter, a woman who harbored a private love for the theater but expressed it mostly in secret. Together, they gave their middle son a childhood defined by constant movement, military structure, and the particular loneliness of a boy who could never put down roots because his father's orders always came before his own comfort. Growing up as a Navy brat, Duvall bounced from base to base, rarely staying in one place long enough to form deep friendships or feel truly at home anywhere. He attended Seven School in Maryland and eventually enrolled at Principia College in Illinois, where, by his own admission, he was a mediocre student at best. His grades were poor enough that his parents, searching for any solution to keep him enrolled and out of the line of the Korean War draft, suggested he try drama classes simply as a means of survival. It was not a vocation. It was a workaround. But something unexpected happened when Robert Duvall stepped onto a stage for the first time. The restless, unfocused young man who struggled to sit through a lecture suddenly came alive. He graduated with a drama degree in 1953, completed a year of Army service at Camp Gordon in Georgia, and then made the decision that would permanently alter the course of American cultural history. He packed his bags and moved to New York City, enrolling at the neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater to study under the legendary Sanford Meisner, one of the most influential acting teachers of the 20th century. His New York years were not glamorous. He shared cramped apartments and near-empty refrigerators with men who would go on to become titans of cinema. Dustin Hoffman was his roommate, while Gene Hackman and James Caan were close friends during those lean, hungry years. Duvall worked as a post office clerk, a department store employee, and a truck driver to pay his bills while chasing auditions. He was not the kind of young man anyone would have looked at and immediately thought, there goes a future Oscar winner. He was simply a determined, somewhat stubborn person who had found the one thing in life that made him feel whole, and he was not prepared to give it up regardless of how difficult things became. His film debut came in 1962, when director Robert Mulligan cast him as the reclusive, mysterious Boo Radley in the adaptation of Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird. It was not a large role, Barely any dialogue, just a few minutes of screen time. But the way Duvall inhabited that character, the fragile warmth that radiated from him in the film's final moments when he looks at young Scout with something that could only be described as terrified tenderness, announced the arrival of someone who understood a fundamental truth about acting. That stillness, in the right hands, can be louder than any speech. One person in particular noticed. His name was Francis Ford Coppola, and he filed that performance away for nearly a decade before placing a phone call that would link their names together permanently in the annals of cinema history. When Coppola began assembling the cast for The Godfather in 1971, the studio wanted safe, bankable choices. Coppola wanted Robert Duvall. He had already worked with him on a small 1969 film called The Rain People and understood something about Duvall that not everyone could see. That this was an actor who could anchor an entire scene without ever demanding the camera's attention. He cast Duvall as Tom Hagen, the German-Irish adopted son of Don Corleone who serves as the Corleone family's consigliere. The salary was $36,000, roughly equivalent to the price of a modest sedan today. For a performance in what would become widely regarded as one of the greatest films ever made, it was an almost comical undervaluation. But Duvall did not play Tom Hagen for the money. He played him with a kind of controlled intelligence that made audiences understand, without a single line of exposition, exactly why a man of such extraordinary restraint would be trusted with the family's most sensitive secrets. Tom Hagen never raised his voice. He never reached for a weapon. He sat at the edges of rooms and listened, and every small movement of his face conveyed volumes. The performance earned Duvall his first Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. He returned for The Godfather, Part 2 in 1974 and earned considerably more for it. But when Paramount came calling for Part 3 in 1990, everything collapsed over a matter of basic professional respect. The studio offered him a fee so dramatically lower than Al Pacino's that Duvall, characteristically, walked away without looking back. The film went on without Tom Hagen, and most serious critics of the trilogy have never forgiven it for the absence. After The Godfather turned him into a recognizable name, every logical calculation about his career pointed toward more mob movies, more supporting roles, more safe and lucrative choices. Duvall made none of those choices. Instead, he turned toward the edges of American experience and found his richest material there. In 1979, he played Lieutenant Colonel Bill Kilgore in Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now, a sun-scorched, surf-obsessed military commander who delivered one of cinema's most quoted and analyzed lines with such total commitment that audiences were simultaneously horrified and transfixed. That same year, the great Santini cast him as a domineering marine aviator so uncomfortably similar to his own father that watching the film feels less like watching fiction than witnessing something deeply personal being exorcised. Both performances earned him Academy Award nominations. Then came Tender Mercies in 1983, the film that many who knew him well considered his finest work. He played Mac Sledge, a washed-up country singer crawling toward redemption in the dust and flat light of rural Texas. Duvall had insisted, as a contractual condition, that he sing every song himself. He had even helped compose some of the music. When he accepted the Academy Award for Best Actor for that role, he did so wearing a cowboy tuxedo and told the audience that he was particularly honored that Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, and Waylon Jennings had approved of what he had done. In a room full of people who spent their careers trying to impress the Academy, Robert Duvall made it clear that he was more interested in impressing three country legends who understood what he had been reaching for. In 1989, the CBS miniseries Lonesome Dove gave him what he himself called his personal favorite role, Captain Augustus McCrae, the philosophical and deeply human retired Texas Ranger. The series drew tens of millions of viewers over 4 nights and cemented Duvall's status as one of the few actors who could carry an epic with nothing but presence and truth. By 1997, he had grown tired of waiting for studios to finance the story he most wanted to tell. He wrote, directed, and starred in The Apostle, a portrait of a flawed, deeply human Pentecostal preacher, investing approximately $5 million of his own money into the project when no studio would touch it. The film earned over $21 million at the box office and brought him his 5th Academy Award nomination. It was the clearest possible statement of everything Duvall believed about the relationship between art and commerce. When commerce won't fund the art, you fund it yourself and let the work make the argument. His seventh and final Oscar nomination came in 2014 for The Judge, when he was 84 years old. 7 nominations spanning 5 decades. 1 win. Over 130 film and television credits. A body of work so varied and so consistently excellent that no single role could define it, even if The Godfather comes closest. While the film career accumulated its honors and its paychecks, Robert Duvall was quietly building a parallel life that had nothing to do with Hollywood and everything to do with the kind of daily reality he found most nourishing. In 1994, he purchased Burnley Farm, a 360-acre estate in Fauquier County, Virginia, set in the heart of Virginia Hunt Country, featuring a Georgian stone farmhouse, rolling pastures, horse paddocks, and unobstructed sightlines to the Blue Ridge Mountains. The property had previously been owned by Washington Redskins owner Jack Kent Cooke. Duvall purchased it not as a trophy but as a refuge, and he treated it accordingly for the rest of his life. He kept horses. He fed cattle. He watched the light change over the mountains in the evenings. He founded his production company, Butcher's Run Films, named after another historic Virginia property he owned near Purcellville, an 1820s Quaker-built fieldstone manor. And through all of it, he remained largely invisible to the machinery of celebrity that devoured so many of his contemporaries. His personal life, however, had not always offered the same stability. He had been married 3 times before finding the partnership that would define his final decades. His first wife, Barbara Benjamin, whom he married in 1964, brought 2 daughters from a previous relationship into their home, and Duvall helped raise them. The marriage ended in 1975. His second wife, Gail Youngs, was an actress he met through her brother, actor John Savage. They married in 1982 and divorced in 1986. His third marriage, to professional tango dancer Sharon Brophy in 1991, ended in 1995 but left him with a profound gift: a love for Argentine tango that would become one of the defining passions of his later years. And then, in the late 1990s, came the bakery. Duvall had traveled to Buenos Aires,